All right, so we're about 10 minutes in to our starting time. I'm going to get started. Anybody who isn't able to follow along or wasn't able to sign in, please contact your regional coordinator. I promise it's a lot easier if you talk to them over the phone to do this than it is to try and do it on your own. But I'm going to get started here. I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to walk you through all the steps of how to use the site to create courses, to enter your results, to enter your hours. We're going to talk about some of the things that it's not able to do that the old event manager did. And I think that's everything. If you have questions, I think if you, I will periodically stop and ask for questions because otherwise I think this could get a little bogged down. So if you can hold your questions till I ask them, I'd really appreciate it. And let's get started. And this meeting is being recorded. I will share the link probably sometime next week so everybody's able to come back and refer to this if you have questions, or if you're like me, I like seeing things more than once. So just to introduce myself really quick, my name is Ashley Evans. I'm the Region 6 Hunter Ed Coordinator out of Watertown. And I've been helping a lot of instructors out with this new system and figured that everybody would benefit from an opportunity to see it at least a couple of times. I'm going to mute a few people. There's a little bit of background noise, but if you have questions, when I'm ready for them, go ahead and unmute yourself. So you should be able to see my screen. When you go to our new, what we're calling AMS Event Manager, this is what it's going to look like. As I said before, and I'm going to restate for the recording because we're going to cut out all that stuff at the beginning. The first time you come to the site, and the first time only, you're going to use the sign up button. You click that green button in the top right. You choose the way you want to log in. Most people it will be email addresses, but if you're struggling with an email address, try your driver's license number or your DEC ID, because this new system is linked to our full licensing system. That was, I think, the main motivator for this switch. I say with some sort of authority, but I've been in my position less than a year. This is what I've heard, that the reason that we made this switch is because it's linked to the licensing account. It makes it a lot easier to track Hunter Ed certificate and the people who are buying licenses. So if you choose your driver's license, you type in your driver's license number, you add your date of birth, and you click search for account. It should ask you to create a password, and then it should ask you to create a PIN number, a 4-digit PIN number. If it doesn't ask you to do that, this is a really good time to call your regional coordinator and say, I don't know if this is working right, and they can help you out. So that's the first time you ever go to the site and go on it. Every other time, you're going to use the login button. You're going to log in with your username and password. I love clicking this little remember me button check mark, because then you won't have to sign in every time. Make sure you write down your password somewhere, because you know it's going to sign you out eventually, and you're going to have to log in. But if you're on here quite often, it does not sign you out very easily. So I click login, and hopefully a lot of you are here at this point where across the top it says New York events, programs, locations, and then it says hello with your name. The next part that kind of tricks people up, because it isn't always the most intuitive, is in order to go in, you're going to click this little blank profile picture next to your name, and you're going to choose my account. Here we have a lot of your personal details. If you want to change some information, such as If you have a designated email address that you use for Hunter Ed courses, I have a couple instructors in my region who use something like herkimerhuntereducation@gmail.com to do all of their correspondence for their courses. This box right here is the best place, is the place where you can update that email address. So anytime a student emails you about a class, it will go to that email address. However, that is not the email address you will use to sign into your account. You will continue to use the same email address that you might have just used to sign in to your account. It can be found here under account details. You'll see this is where you can find which email address is your username, is your login. This is also where you're able to change your password. Under additional details, we'll talk about your PIN number later, but if you've forgotten your 4-digit PIN, this is where you can change your 4-digit PIN. So that's a little tour of the profile section. I'm going to move right along because this is the stuff that isn't quite as relevant and you're not going to be using quite as often. What you are going to be often using is the My Events over here on the left side of the page, My Events. And you'll notice when you come to this page, you'll always come to the Registered Events page. And you know, even if you have classes scheduled, it will say no upcoming events. That's because this is a website used both by instructors and also students, customers, people who have a license. So anyone who is registered for a class, anyone who is signed up for a class, they will see their event right here. For you as instructors, you will either use the assigned event or the event log buttons at the top. I particularly like assigned events, but we'll come back to that in a few minutes because we're going to start creating a new event. If you have this green button here to create a new event, you're good to go. It knows you're an instructor and you're going to be able to create some events. So I'm going to click it right now. And there's a whole list of locations sorted in pseudo alphabetic order. I'm not sure why some of them are not in order and some of them are. But luckily we have this nice little search function. As an instructor, you are assigned to the region which you live in, a little bit more than the one you teach in. So if you live and teach in 2 different regions, it might be worth reaching out to your regional coordinator and saying, hey, do I have permissions to find a location that isn't in my home region? So another thing to note when you're searching for locations to hold an event, which is the first step of creating an event, if you type in the entire name of the club or location, but have a little discrepancy, like maybe Camden Rod and Gun Club, if you use the word and versus the ampersand symbol, it might come in a little bit differently. So I suggest that you search just the first word of your club in order to find it. So for example, if I had typed in Camden Rod AND Gun Club, it wouldn't have found it. So to make it a little easier on you, just type in the first word and you're good to go. If a location doesn't exist that you typically teach at, most of them should. Most of them got transferred over from the old system. There were some things we had cleaned up and removed just because they were old and we wanted to make the site a little bit cleaner. But if you're missing something, you can always create a location using the green button. However, you won't be able to continue on creating your event at that time because your regional coordinator has to approve that the location exists. So I would recommend shoot your regional coordinator a message and say, I want to create a course and I had to create a location. Can you approve that location? Unfortunately, we don't get email notifications about that. So if you want it done promptly, it's just a good idea to give us a heads up, because we check, I don't know what everybody else does. We check once or twice a week up here in Region 6. And if we're busy or out in the field or something, it might get missed. So give us a heads up. I click a create event here. The first thing is to choose which program you're going to teach in. I only have one option, but some of you might have more. If you are an instructor in multiple disciplines, you're going to have to change this. I believe the current default is Hunt, Fish, New York event. I have asked them to change the current default to be Hunter Education course, because that's the majority of ones we create and we use. So make sure you're checking this drop-down menu and selecting the correct one first thing. You won't be able to change the event name. It's always going to be called Hunter Education course. If you want to add your other instructors right now, you can do that, or you can wait and do it after the event is created. I will, let's see. Oh, I don't know who can teach in region, I think this is region 8. So I'm not gonna add any instructors.
I actually teach there. I teach at Rochester.
All right. Let's see, DAV. Let's see, are you a Dave or a David?
I think it goes as Dave, but it could go as David, but I go by both.
There's another example of less is more. If you search for DAV, it would find both Dave and David's. Just like locations, less is better.
Yeah, so it doesn't think Dave exists because he's probably in here as David. So it's probably best to just search his last name. And there he is. So I'm going to add him as an instructor. I don't even remember if you're an instructor for this course that I'm setting up, but for now you're going to be in here. So now I can see that Dave is an assistant instructor. And you can add more. You can add them later, whatever you need to do.
Ashley,
Yeah.
I was just into my account following all this procedure, and at the top to choose a course, I clicked that little arrow on the right-hand side, and it gave me all the options of Hunter Ed, Bow, Hunt, Fish, New York. So they were all in there.
Yep, a lot of everybody should be a Hunt, Fish, New York instructor, and you should have every discipline that you are certified to teach in available in that drop-down menu. So make sure you're clicking the course that you mean to schedule. You're clicking that drop-down option, because you'll notice, oh, I can't change it because I'm not a bow hunter instructor in Region 8. You'll notice if you try this, if you change it to, oh, I forgot this is a bow hunter ed course. If I click bow hunter ed, it will cancel all the work that's been done below it. So make sure that's the first thing you check when you come on this page. All right, I'm going to keep going down.
I don't mean to interrupt, sorry, but we're the only group that teaches at Rochester Rifle Club, so I'm probably already scheduled to teach there. So
sounds good. I can always take you off later if need be. So we've already selected its location. I can't change the location. Class material shipping location. If you need things shipped to you, you can fill that out. Anything with an asterisk is going to be what is required that you fill out. Here, the default is going to be when you create a location, you're going to say what your capacity is at that location. You might decide you don't want to teach a course for that many people. And in this case, Gary told me he only wants this to be a 20-person course. So I'm going to change that event capacity from 35 to 20. All right, here's the next spot that catches people up a little bit. We all will acknowledge it's not the best designed part of this website, but if you know what to look for, you can avoid the struggles. To create the date and time of your event, you're going to click the little button for Starts At, this little calendar button. And Gary told me this course is going to be September 26th. So I can navigate through here a couple different ways. If you've done calendars on the internet for forms like this before, it's all very similar. September 26th. You'll notice it gave me an error in the background. You don't have to worry about that quite yet. And Gary told me that this course is going to start at 8:30 a.m. So I got to click the PM to change it to an AM. And then I can just click anywhere outside of here, and you'll notice it says we start at the 26th at 8:30 a.m. You also know it ends at the exact same time, and the website doesn't like that. It says the end time must be after the start time. So we can go in and click it, and it's already selected the 26th for us, so we don't need to change that. And we can tell it, well, we're going to finish at 5 o'clock p.m. And there's little arrows if you want to move it that way. I like the keyboard. If you want to do the little arrows to change the time, you can always do that. And then I'm going to click somewhere else. And here's the stumbling block. You have to click this green Add Event Date button in order for it to take the date and time. So I'm going to click that. And now it's down here in green. If you go back and click in this box, it will autofill some date and time, just like it did the first time when I clicked it. But currently, and I'm hoping they change this, but currently there's no way to delete that. And actually, well, I'll do that as a quick example because, man, it's a pain. Oops, I clicked in there. It put today's date and time in here. I cannot delete it. There is nothing I can do to get it to go away. And currently what I have been doing is, and it will give you this error. The event end time must be after the start time if you have that date and time entered. So what I've been doing to fix this is remove the previous one and put it in again. I've had a couple instructors get stuck with that and in a little endless loop, and they can't submit their event. So keep an eye on that. When you attempt to submit your course, the time should be in green, the date time should be in green, and this starts at, ends at needs to be blank. Next, we have the About This Event. And I want to show everyone that we now have standardized course descriptions on every event. You can't see them when you are creating your event, but you can always look at somebody else's, or your RC can email you a copy. So when you type in the About This Event box, it will be available here, but it will always be visible, no matter what you put in, that the student can download the manual and the worksheet or the permission slip form, the cancellation policies, the event policies, how long it is. You have to bring the completed homework. Do not bring firearms or ammunition to the course. Everything will be provided for you. All of that will be available on every listing. You don't need to add that to your listing. In fact, we are trying to edit, the RCs are trying to edit the course descriptions a little bit to try and remove the repeated information. Frank, I saw a chat come in, but I can't see it right now. Can you tell me what that question was? It was a good one, and I've already forgotten what it was. You're muted, Frank.
if it's 2 days and the end time would just be the date and time of the last class, I don't understand that.
That's a great question. If you have a 2-day class,
Oh,
you would put in the date, the time of the date and the start and end time of the first one. Presumably you're not there for 48 hours straight. Presumably you're there for 4 hours and 4 hours. So if this example was a class that was, oops, 8 hours on the first day and 3 hours on the second day, you would just put it in again. And then make sure all your dates and times are entered, and then that the start and ends at is not filled in because the green indicates the hours of your course. All right, continuing on about this event. I've got a long thing to copy from Gary. So Gary's included a place where you can pick up manuals in person, that there's no vending machines and you need to bring a bagged lunch. All drinks have to be capped. We'll be outside, so be outside, or just dress for the weather. It says do not bring any guns or ammo to the class. I'm going to remove that. We do have that already further down. And I'm going to then add the confirmation message. And I believe this is what is emailed to the student when they register.
you got a question here from Greg. Why not allow us to select the about the event option so we don't have to go in and find the description from somewhere else?
You don't need to add the description from somewhere else. It will already be there. This is specifically what the instructor asked me to include in the about this event section. It can say whatever you like. If it is just, thank you for, or you please bring a water bottle and dress for the outside, you can include that. Everything else will always automatically be included. Talking about bringing in your homework, here's how to download the materials, etc. All right, I'm going to move on. Oh, go ahead, Mike.
That was me. I would like to add one thing. If you scroll a little higher on the page for Ashley, one of the things that is different about this system is when a student looks at the class information, it'll give the address, but it doesn't give the facility, which is why I put in here, this class is being held at the Rochester Rifle Club. So somebody I know where that is, but they may not recognize the address. Does that make sense?
I see. So when the student chooses which class they're looking at, it says the address, but it doesn't say which Rod and Gun Club this is when they're looking at it until, anywhere. So that's a good point. We'll see if we can get them to add that.
I've suggested it. So anyway, that's just one thing you might want to include. The about this event is simply what you want the student to know before they register. The confirmation address is simply, or a confirmation message is what you want them to know after they register.
Yeah. All right. Waitlist, we're not allowing waitlist for Hunter Ed courses. I believe this is from the previous event manager. The waitlist gets a little bit messy. The next thing is the start and end date for registrations, visibility, and cancellation. You'll notice I can't click in here. I'm trying to edit them. The reason, the way you edit them is using this big green edit windows button. You'll notice the green button went away, and now I can change when they're able to see the course. I believe the default for when registration ends is when the course starts. We recommend, unless you want, registration to stop a few days beforehand, We recommend adding maybe an hour or two to this because walk-ins, if you have walk-in students, they can register themselves for the course if the registration window is still open, and going along with that, making the course still visible. If you have different preferences, if you'd rather they only be able to register until 3 days beforehand because you need to prepare some things, you can obviously do that for yourself. The last thing to create an event is registration notifications and cancellation notifications. If you would like to receive an email when somebody registers or someone cancels, you can click on that. And actually, I talked about registration windows, but I need to add what Gary asked me to do, which is actually midnight the night before. Gary, if you're here, like I said, you might want to change it to be the day of. And I can never remember how to do midnight of the same night, so I'm just going to do 11:59 of the night before. Cancellation is the same. All right, so this is all the steps to create an event. Very quickly, make sure you choose the correct program at the top. Make sure your schedule starts at, ends at is blank, and the schedule from your course is in this green box, whether it is 1 day or multiple days. And we can then create an event. And then it's going to show as pending activations. You'll notice here now we're in the assigned events tab. It automatically sent me there after creating it. And you'll notice it is pending activation. And maybe my good friend, the Region 8 coordinator, Frank, will go in and approve it for me so we can see what happens. Let me know when that's done, Frank. While Frank is doing that, we can talk about a couple of things. There's now an event or a button that is copy event. Now that Gary has written out or Frank, whoever it was, has written out the class description with you can pick up manuals at Montezuma Wildlife Refuge. He doesn't have to go in and type that in next time. You can just click copy event. And it will automatically fill in these things. You can say submit, and it's going to autofill a lot of the stuff. You will have to add the instructors who are helping you out. You're going to have to change the date and time because obviously this is a new instance of the course that you're teaching in the spring or whatnot. But a lot of that, it includes whether you want to be notified. So once you have created a course the first time, the subsequent time should be easier.
If I may, I approve that class. However, Ashley, unless you're going to be traveling to Rochester, you're listed as the lead instructor. You need to fix that.
Leave me in there for now.
Yeah, I'm good. So anyway, that's approved. Also, we have a question. Confused. So after you create the course, you are teaching in your own place. Who needs to approve it? Just like all previous courses, you register a class, DEC regional staff needs to approve that class before it becomes active. Okay, we're not approving the location so that, giving you permission to teach there. We're approving that class listing, basically. Okay.
All right, so I've gotten lost here. Somehow I'm in locations. If I want to get back to my events, I'm going to click my little profile picture. I will click my account. I will click my events. and then I can go to my assigned events. Oop, and there we go. I'm hoping that sequence of clicks will get a little bit simpler with a suggestion that I've sent in, but for now, that's how you get to your events. And you'll notice I can view it. This is generally, it has all the details on it. That's a great question. Anthony just had a question of how do we add instructors and how do you add instructors you can't find? Let's do that, because I didn't put all the instructors in for this course. So let me find my notes from Gary to see who's gonna join this class. Let me go back. I clicked through that very quickly. So I'm in my assigned events. Here's this Rochester Rifle Club. I'm gonna view this event. And then I'm going to manage instructors. And then I find on my list, there we go. So I now know who is teaching with me. We've got Gary teaching. And I don't know if Gary is Gary's legal first name. I'm not sure about that. So I'm just going to search by his last name. Oop, I got to spell it right though. And I can find that Gary is here.
Ashley, you see the list that Gary Struber put in the chat of who is going to be in that class?
I've got it from his email.
Oh, okay.
It's really hard for me to see the chat today. We can see if we can find Jim. Jim isn't in there. We can't find him. Again, as Fran said, less is more with these searches. Jim's legal name probably isn't Jim. So let's just search his last name, and there he is. So if you're having trouble finding instructors, that might be the reason why. Try just searching their last name, make sure the spelling is correct. If you search them and you still cannot find them, contact your regional coordinator to make sure that those people are in as instructors, that the system recognizes that they're an instructor or a volunteer. I would just search by last name if I were you. And that's what I'm going to do right now.
We have found that sometimes last name is not found. You have to do it by first name for some people. Who knows why?
Okay. And one more for another Jim who's actually a James. So now I've got all the instructors.
While you're there too, just note that you may or you should have a conservation officer attending, but you don't know who it is yet, so you'll have to add them in later. We had a couple of questions. I don't want to lose them. A question whether a class that has filled, is that removed from the public website? I believe it is. I'm not 100% positive. Yes? Okay.
A filled course is no longer visible to the public. I understand that sometimes students want to use that listing to find information about their course, and I'm not quite sure what the best answer to that is. It might be, we could still send a link that will take them to the course information, so that could be something. Or I will show you in a bit of how you can email the participants.
Hey, Ashley, just so you know, I'm looking at a course that I'm teaching on Saturday. It's full, but it's still showing. It just says that the event is full.
Oh.
So event full classes are still visible.
That might be a new thing. I hope that's the case.
That brings up a good point, is that this is a new system, not just for instructors and us, but also in general. So we're still tweaking it, and they're making changes on a weekly or bi-weekly basis.
Something else to know.
Yeah, and it gives it, when you go into the event, it gives the person looking at the class the opportunity to contact the instructor, possibly to see if they can still come to the class as a walk-in, in case, you know, somebody doesn't show up and there's room for them to attend the class, which is probably the thinking.
Yeah, I think that probably makes sense.
Another question about if the class is full, does it create a waiting list? The waiting list function is turned off because we have found that it just does not function very well. So basically, if a class is filled, it's filled. If a seat opens up because somebody cancels, then it's no longer filled, and we'll allow the next person to log and sign up for it.
Great question in the chat. I'll get to that in just a moment here. So another big difference between the old system, the old event manager, and the new one is that in order to add registrants, there is less that you as instructors are able to do than last time. If someone already has an event, maybe it's a child whose parent bought them a lifetime license, they'll already be in this system and you'll be able to add them, whether, let's say they're a walk-in in a course. If they already have an account, you will be able to add them. If they don't have an account, your regional coordinator will have to add them, give them an account. And again, this is because it is linked to our licensing system. It's not its own separate website that is meant for Hunter Ed classes only. It's for the licensing system as a whole, statewide and everything. So I understand that's a frustration for a lot of people, and it certainly does slow things down sometimes, but that's the reason behind it. But I can add some registrants to this class. Let's see if we can find Donna to attend this class. So the bad news is currently, I can't differentiate between all of these Donna Richardsons, only with their email address. I think it's probably safe to say that the one that works at DEC is the one I'm looking for. I believe there should soon be date of birth added to this search, which will really help you make sure you're adding the right person. But if you're not sure which Donna to add to this course, don't add them, contact your regional coordinator and have them add the student who's a walk-in or whatnot. I'm going to add Donna just so there's somebody in here so that we can have somebody and she can cancel herself later. They can add information and click register.
Ashley?
In 1 second, one moment. And then you can view the event roster and see everybody who is registered. When you go to host your course, you are able to download the class roster so that you have everyone's information. Here we can see let me zoom in here. Here's what it will look like. Here's their customer ID. Here's her name. Here's her date of birth. Here's the day she registered. And I believe phone number should be added to this roster in the coming update. I'm sorry, I keep saying this will be in there. The update was supposed to come out any day now, and unfortunately it didn't get updated before this training. So I know some instructors who prefer to call their class roster a few days before, make sure they're still coming, they've done their homework and whatnot. So that the phone number should be available. All right, I had a question.
Yeah, hi. Oh, I don't know why that's doing that. My question is, so now, unlike the old event manager, anybody signing up for one of our classes has to create an account first under the decal system. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
All right. So parents registering their kids, they have to give them their own account under decals. So that, and then they can sign into my, they can register for my class. That sounds great. What do I do with the walk-ins again, or people last minute who never signed up for an account? How do I can give them the instruction. That's not an issue, but how do I issue them a certificate and make that certificate active when they're not on my roster?
That's a good question. This is also relevant for non-computer users like the Amish. This is how you would go about either registering a walk-in or registering an Amish student. Here we go. Can you see my Word document now and not my, can you see my walk-in registration form, Frank?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So all the information that we collected on the previous registration forms is still relevant. If they don't have a phone number or email address because they are Amish or non-computer users, you can just make note of that, not applicable. You'll notice there's two differences that we require now, which is the eye color of the student and the height of the student. I know it's a little ridiculous that this 12-year-old isn't going to remain the same height for the rest of their life. But again, because it's linked to the licensing system, it is required in order for us to create an account for someone. So if you have a walk-in registration form, please modify it to include these things. If you want a copy of a registration form, reach out to your coordinator because we have these available. But that's the sort of information. So you collect this information from the student. If you also have, if you issue them a certificate, you can add their certificate number to this form. You can add their test score to this form. And we, as your coordinators, can enter them and enter the certificate number and whatnot. We'll go into shortly here, we'll go into how you enter the results of a course.
So then we fill out this form, give them their certificate, and then we send this form, I guess, to our region.
Yeah.
And then they'll establish them an account or whatever they'll do on the back end.
Yes, they will.
And they'll add it to our roster later on.
Yep. They will be added to your roster with their certificate number, and the system will register that they have a certificate. And because they have that card, that certificate card, they can then go that day and buy a license.
Okay. All right. So this is how we handle last minute people walking in then.
Yes.
Now these forms, are they going to be issued to us or like?
Reach out to your coordinator
right.
if they haven't sent something out like this already, and they can send it to you.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Something that you are very likely to see at some point when you are using this site is this error. We're sorry, but something went wrong, which is extremely frustrating. And please contact your regional coordinator when you get this error. The way that this website gets better, the way that this system gets better is we hear about all of the problems because the website developer doesn't know when something like this comes up. They need to know. So if you can provide, I got an error, my name is this, and I got this error at this date at this time, they can go back through the website logs and try and determine why that error was generated. I apologize, you are all guinea pigs just a little bit. And the way the site improves is that we hear when there are errors. So hopefully you don't see this too many times, but if you do, please let us know.
Another thing, if you run into a problem, even if it's something you just don't understand, taking screenshots is extremely helpful. It'll tell us where you're at, what the exact message is, and sometimes that's all we need to know what went wrong, rather than trying to describe it. And if anyone doesn't know how to do screenshots, just drop me an email.
If anyone doesn't know how to do screenshots, you can type in this little search bar if you have a Windows and type snipping tool. That's typically what I use. Click enter.
Best thing since sliced bread.
Oh my gosh, it's the best part of the computers. And it creates a photo of whatever you drag the box around. We got a question about how to email everybody who's registered for the class. That can be done using this button. So let me show you how you get there. When you're looking at your events, here's this Rochester Rifle Club Hunter Ed course that I'm teaching. I can go to view. I can view the event roster. And then I can email everybody on the roster. It says waitlist. There's no waitlist allowed for this, so you can ignore that. You click email entire roster. And you can edit these parts of it. Info about your hunter education course at Rochester Rifle Club. And you can send out an email this way. I will acknowledge the downfall of sending an email this way is it is not sent from your own email address. The point of using this method of emailing the students is that they do not see your personal email address. They can communicate with you, but they don't see your personal email address. The email is sent from the website info@nysdeclicensing.com. This is an email address that sometimes goes to people's spam. And so this isn't necessarily the most reliable way of contacting your roster. If you would like to use your own personal email address, if you don't have any problems with that, you could always click on the class roster and pull email addresses that way. Or ultimately when there's phone numbers available on the roster, you can pull phone numbers from it and call people if that's what you prefer. So I'm going to send this, and if you want to send a copy of this message to yourself so you can see what it looks like, you can click this little button here. I'm going to send that email just because, oh, there we go. We got the error. So at this point, I would contact my regional coordinator, which is myself, and say, I tried to send this email at this time, and I got this error. Well, that's fun. All right, so I'm back at my event. If you want to see what it looks like to the public when they're looking at your event, you can click the public view button. And this is how they're able to email you. Again, they don't get your personal email address. They send it through the system and then it is sent to you. You can say whatever you want and send it. And this is also how they can register. All right.
Ashley, while you're on that page there, so if someone has a license account already, you can add them to your roster. You can do it. But if they do not, you cannot add them to your roster. So at the bottom there, you can send them an invitation And then that'll help them register. That make sense?
So I can click the send invitation button, and then I can go over to this compose email tab, and I can invite myself. Unfortunately, there's an expiration date. You've got to fill everything in. And the thing to know about using this, I believe that it's a personalized link. And I don't know about that. We won't talk about that right now. If you have any questions about that, please reach out. All right, so that's everything. We exported our class roster. We've got all the information. We head to class, we teach our class, and we come back after the fact. So I've logged in, I've clicked my little profile picture, I've clicked my account. I go to my events. I go to my assigned events. And one of my instructors, Chris, taught a course recently, and I asked him for his results so I could enter results and show you all how it works. So let me show that one more time. Here I taught at the Norfolk Rod and Gun Club. I can click view, and I can click edit event results. And hopefully I'm the primary instructor. We'll find out. I might not be, and I need to edit that really quick. So registration results is going to be your class. The certificate numbers that you issued for your class and whatnot. Your instructor information is your new time card for submitting the hours that you teach. We'll start with registration results. And so every student that was registered ahead of time for the course will be in here. Let me find my results so I can get these typed in.
While you're doing that, on the right-hand side, you see the button, I think it's red, where it says incomplete. That means that the information for that student has not been filled in. It is not, does not mean they were incomplete on the attendance or the completion of class. So the first box is whether they attended or whether they're a no-show. Then the drop down for the second one is pass, fail, incomplete, audit, or no-show.
You'll notice, let me type another one. We'll have a no-show here in a moment.
Final grade is an optional field. It's the only one of the four that's optional.
So Aiden did not attend. He was a no-show, which means he didn't pass, he didn't fail, he didn't incomplete, he didn't audit, he no-showed, which means he does not get a certificate number. Anyone who does not get a certificate number, you have to put something in this box. Go ahead to try to put NA. That's what we've asked for right here. Please write NA for failing.
Okay, while you're doing that, I got a couple more questions here. Actually, just one. Once upon a time, for our Pittman Robbins, we had to record attendees even if they didn't take a test. Well, it wasn't so much for the Pittman Robinson, but you should attend. You should record everyone who was attending, whether they're if they're not taking the exam, they can be done as an audit. So yes, you should do that if you have their information, but if you don't, I'm not gonna chase them down to try to get them to register.
Does that include like parents of kids that are taking the class?
Yeah, I mean, if you can count them, great. But you know, if they didn't register and they're just sitting through, chances are they're not going to want to bother. So you can just ignore them. But if they're registered, you know, then they would be as an audit. So you can't report on somebody who hasn't entered their information.
And we don't need parents to register if they plan on auditing, if they plan on staying. It does remove a seat from another student. So there was a little bit of discussion about that this spring. We don't require parents who stay with their kid through the course, but don't need their own certification to audit. So I've entered in some of the info. Obviously, you need to enter all of the info for the students. I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom here. And let's say that Noah attended, got an 80. Actually, let's not add a certificate number for Noah and see what it tells us. So because I didn't add anything for Luke, it's not going to give me an error, but because I missed that certificate number for Noah, it let me put it in anyway. I didn't know it was going to do that. Make sure you're double checking things. So half of your results for the course are going to be the class results. If they have a certificate and an exam and whatnot, exam grade and everything. The other one is going to be your time as an instructor. So you can go into instructor information and click edit. If you are an assistant instructor, you will only be able to enter the information under your own name. If you are the primary instructor, meaning you are the person who went in and created this event, you will be able to enter hours for the assistant instructor under a certain circumstance, which I'll come to in a moment. Don't worry about this add non-event day. This isn't necessary at the moment. So the first thing you're going to have to do is type in your instructor PIN number. This is that 4-digit PIN that you created when you created your account. If you've forgotten what that is and you need to change that, I talked about that at the beginning of the video under your profile. So go ahead and go back to the beginning and watch that part. So my instructor profile, so everybody can see, is that. And here's where you're going to add how many hours you spent volunteering for this course. So typically these are 8-hour courses. So we'll say I instructed for 8 hours. I mean, it took me an hour to figure out how to use this new website. So I spent an hour there. And then I also spent an hour writing certificates. And then there was an hour of cleanup, or half an hour of cleanup or something. So I spent 2.5 hours preparing, picking up equipment and whatnot. I live 30 minutes away, so it was an hour round trip. You'll notice, oops, that's 60 minutes. 1 hour. We ask for 15-minute intervals to be included as 0.25. So if it's 2.5 hours, if it's 2 hours and 30 minutes, it's gonna be 2.5 hours. I will caution that these little arrow buttons enter by 0.01, which isn't very useful. It's gonna take me a long time to get to 8 hours for admin or whatnot. Also, if you've clicked in here, oh, no, it doesn't do that anymore. So I recommend just using your keyboard to type in the time. I live 20 miles away, and meeting time. This is something for, in fact, you are going to enter your own time for being here tonight at the end of this. So for you, everything above this will be 0 hours, 0 admin, 0 travel, 0 distance, because you're all in your own homes, presumably. This is a virtual meeting. But for meeting time, you will enter however many hours we will end up being here. For this course, this Hunter Ed course I taught with Chris a few weeks ago. I didn't actually teach with Chris. He's given me his information to use for this. We didn't have any meeting time. It was all admin time. For me, as a DEC employee, I would be clicking yes, that I'm paid to participate in this. You all as volunteer instructors will not be doing that. And you can click save. I'm going to save. I'll go back through here later and remove myself from the course because I didn't actually teach.
Question was, what if your hours exceed 24 hours? They can't. Every day must be recorded separately. So this is the time for this date shown there, July 18th. If you had time beforehand, meeting, getting supplies from the office, whatever, that's where that non-event day comes in.
Got a question.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I have two volunteers that have been vetted through Ann. Do they appear in the database automatically, or do I have to add them if I ever decide to use them as volunteers in my class? They're actually my kids, and they're both been vetted through the process and everything. So would they be in the system already as vetted volunteers, or do I have to have them entered?
It's worth going in and searching and seeing if you can find them as instructors. They may be in there.
Well, they're not instructors, they're volunteers.
Sorry. When you click add instructor to the course, you are then searching for the list of instructors and volunteers.
Okay.
If you can find them in that list, then they're in there. If you can't find them in their list, let your RC know and we'll get them in pretty quickly, pretty easily.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Back to the 24-hour day thing. If the class goes over 2 hours, you have to have 2 separate timesheets for each instructor.
2 days. Well, and Ashley, can you show them using that non-course? Or if you had a 2-day class, you would have both dates listed. So here it shows July 18th. It would show July 18th and July 19th.
Okay, so it would automatically pop up for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
The times that you have scheduled that the class exists will automatically be entered for you. If you have non-event activity, such as driving to the regional office to get some supplies or something, you would add that in as a non-event day.
Gotcha. Thanks.
You're welcome. So you'll notice here, it now says I'm the primary instructor. This means that I can now upload a time card for my assistant instructors or my volunteers, whoever that is. We would prefer everybody log in and put their own time in if possible, but if you have a non-computer user in your group where somebody's out of town or hasn't accessed their computer, you can use the instructor time card that you used previously, the paper instructor time card. Just loading it up so everyone can see it, maybe. You can have someone fill out a paper time card like this if they won't enter their own hours on the site. So they fill out their name, they I can spell my own name. They assisted with the course, and I can't really fill this out, but they assisted with the course. And the important thing is that we have their signature. That is the substitute for their PIN number. This is important for federal reporting of the hours. This is how we get the PR funds for our courses, is based on how many hours our volunteers are putting in. So you'll save that time card, or you'll get a copy of that time card. And you'll notice I can't type in, and I'm gonna go to Chris. Chris is here so I can mess with his stuff. I can't type in any hours. So what I'm gonna do is click by disabling the PIN for this instructor. You're attesting that the instructor is not able to submit their hours electronically. Hours for this instructor cannot be submitted without uploading a signed hours sheet from the instructor. So I click the checkbox I type in all the time that Chris has. And then here I use the signed hours sheet. I choose the file. I navigate to where it is. I will open anything. It really doesn't matter what it is at the moment for this demonstration. So there's that blank instructor time card. And it's added. And I can click save. And now Chris doesn't have to go in and put in his hours. I, as the primary instructor, have put them in. Chris, I'm just kidding. I just put nonsense in for you. So we'll talk later to get you re-put in as the primary instructor and me kicked out of this. That is how you enter your instructor hours. The old page that you used to use doesn't work anymore. I don't even know if I have that. I don't even think I can show you what it looks like anymore. Essentially, if you try and go there, it says you can't use this anymore. Please go to the site, and it provides you a link for how to get to this new decals AMS manager site. So you'll press save. Okay, that's fine. I don't need to save. When these two sections are complete, when they are green, they will be complete when all of the instructors have added information for their time. And when results are entered for every single student, there should be a button somewhere around here that says submit. Now, here's the point where somebody had mentioned earlier, they entered their instructor hours and then they got repeated emails saying, oh, I don't have my email open to check. Something of, you know, your course results are incomplete. Your course results are incomplete, but they had already added their hours. You're gonna get that email until the primary instructor clicks submit on the button that will pop up when the instructor information and the registration results are complete. Unfortunately, it is a little bit annoying. Hopefully it's annoying enough that the other instructors will get their hours entered and the results entered, and you can get it submitted. But that email will keep coming. One of the parts that is tough for primary instructors is when you come to this page, you can't tell right away which instructors have entered their hours. You have to click through all of the different names and look. We've asked them to update that to be something that makes it clearer to the primary instructor who they need to hound and say, hey, you need to get your hours in, or you need to send me a signed time card. So keep an eye out for that in the future.
Hey, Ashley, just for clarification, that email that prompts you, even when you've already put your hours in, it comes from info@NYSDEC licensing, and it says, hello, your name. This is a notification to inform you that your report is overdue for the following event. Doesn't mean that your part is overdue, just that there's some part of it that's overdue. And we've actually been getting those for reports that we have submitted. So that's a glitch that needs to be fixed. We do have a couple questions I want to cover real quick. Teaching, if you're there for the entire course, you're there teaching for the entire course. Even if you were only in the front of the room for an hour, you're still supporting teaching the whole class. So you put in 8 hours if it's an 8-hour class. We need to know there are pins to fill out the forms. You need to know your pin to fill out your hours. If you are filling out the hours of someone else, that's because you have a signed paper. You don't need their pins. You click on the pin bypass button. Do I need to log out of event programs? I'm not sure what that means, Chris. Oh, it's probably for changing the primaries.
Yeah.
You can only have one primary. You can switch them around who it is, as was just demonstrated, but you can only have one primary, which is something I was misinforming instructors earlier this year. Let's see. Well, if you use the paper form, how do you get by this page? I think that was already covered. You scan the page, you scan the paper, upload it, and bypass the pin. How do you reset the pin? It's under the main profile, one of the 3 tabs at the top. I forget which one it is.
Check back at this recording at the beginning. I did go over it at the beginning.
Classes like this one we are in now, or your mandatory classes, I'm assuming you mean refreshers, do they go down as administration or teaching? At the bottom of the page there, meeting time. That's where that is used for.
And we'll go over that in just a couple minutes, because we're gonna, anybody who is able to log in, I want you to log your hours right now, but we will keep going over some questions before we go to that.
And does taking this class in the refresher class ever get entered anywhere? Yeah.
Yeah.
And in fact, for our Region 8 folks, usually by the time that meeting's ended, Donna has already uploaded all your information on it. So while I'm busy yapping in the front, she's taking care of that in the back.
Okay, no matter where you are on this site right now, if you can see hello and your name, you can always click your little profile picture to go to my account. For those who were asking earlier, you can change your PIN number using additional details in this tab right here. Next, you're going to go to My Events on the left-hand side of the screen. And you'll go to Assigned Events. There should be one. Is this the right date? This is the right time. There should be one called Non-Course Time Management, located out of Region 6 Watertown office. So this is the current meeting that we're in, and you can click View. From View, you can click Edit Event Results. Then there's the big button for instructor information, which is Edit. There's a whole lot of names in here. It should automatically go to your own name. You can type in your 4-digit instructor PIN, whatever you decided that was going to be. And all of these fields are going to be zeros, except for meeting time. And, you know, if you came here at 6:30, you can go ahead and drop 2 hours in. If you got here earlier, you can call it 2.5. And everything else is going to be zeros. You don't need to worry about the non-event day. I am getting paid to be here. Most of you are not. And I'm going to press Save. And it should kick you back to the non-course time management instructor information incomplete page once it's saved.